Hello, everyone out there tuning in. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Ashley Bickle. I work in the recruitment department at Loyalist College, and I'm so fortunate to have here with me today Tracy McKenzie, who is a faculty member with the Protection, Security, and Investigation program at Loyalist College. Tracy, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Ashley. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us. Before we kind of jump right into it, I want to introduce to you guys the chat feature that is a part of Zoom. You'll find it at the very bottom of your screen. If you click on that chat feature, a little sidebar will pop up for you, and you're able to chat directly with Loyalist College. Get any questions that you may have into that chat, ask away, and we would be happy to answer those questions at the very end of the session. And they can be questions about the college itself, about all the happenings that are going on right now, or about this fantastic program. And we will get to those, as I mentioned, at the very end. So put those questions in there. All right, Tracy, should we jump right into it?
I think we should, yeah.
All right, that sounds good. Tracy, could you start by telling us a bit about yourself and your professional background?
Sure. So as you had mentioned, I teach in the Protection, Security, and Investigations program. I'm also the program coordinator for that program. I'm actually a graduate of that program from quite a few years ago now. And, after graduating and starting to work within the PSI field, I did decide to go back to school. And I used a transfer agreement from my Loyalist diploma to go to Athabasca University. And I completed a 4-year Bachelor Professional Arts degree in criminal justice. And so that was a great opportunity for me to, take 2 years of what I'd already done at the college and then gain that degree opportunity. And we actually have quite a few of those transfer agreements available to students who are looking to pursue additional education after they graduate from the program. I think being a graduate of the program gives me some experience that allows me to really relate to my students so that I can help them to really develop both academic and career success in the field. I have been teaching at Loyalist now for just over 20 years. Many of those years were in a part-time capacity while I was working directly in the PSI field. And since 2007, I've been teaching in the program and coordinating it on a full-time basis. But prior to teaching, my professional background included a variety of different positions in loss prevention, healthcare, and event security, as well as almost 10 years as a security supervisor at Queen's University, campus security and emergency services.
That's fantastic. So thank you so much for giving that great background to us. And you bring such an extensive background to the program. And I think that's such an important thing that a lot of our great faculty members do. Let's start with our first question here. Could you tell us a bit about the Protection, Security, and Investigation program at Loyalist?
I sure can. So our PSI program is one of 4 justice programs that we have in our cluster. The other programs are Customs Border Services, Community and Justice Services, and Police Foundations. And because we're a cluster, those 4 programs all share a common first-year curriculum. So all students in those programs take all the same courses in first year, which is a huge advantage for our students because I find a lot of students during the first year of the program, they learn a lot more about what each of the programs have to offer as far as placement opportunities and career opportunities after graduation. And we do get a lot of students who change their mind during that first year. So they come to us and they know they want to work in justice, but they don't know exactly what they want to do. And during that first year, they get exposed to a lot of different faculty, guest speakers, courses that really help them kind of define what their area of interest might actually be. And they can change their mind and they can pursue a different program for the second year. So the PSI program actually, we usually see anywhere from a 100% to 200%, even as high as a 300% increase from students between first year and second year, because they get here, they learn all about what PSI has to offer. They see the vast number of both placement and career opportunities, and they decide that that's the path they want to pursue for second year. So that's a great, feature that we have. It also leads to our students' ability to come back for just 8 more months and get a dual diploma. So they can get 2 diplomas in 2 of our different justice programs because they don't have to repeat that common first year. And we do get a lot of students that come back, they get 2 additional placements and 2 diplomas when they're done in just 3 years. So another great feature. In addition to lots of courses in things like law and social studies, enforcement and investigations, we do also offer in the PSI program sort of some unique courses that open up a variety of additional placement and career opportunities that people might not be really familiar with. But an example would be we have courses in emergency planning, occupational health and safety, risk management, And these kinds of courses kind of help students develop the necessary skills to help organizations adapt to the changes that are taking place in the world today, particularly during these challenging times as we deal with a pandemic. So we're giving students skills that they can actually help employers deal with these kinds of challenging times, makes them quite competitive when they're looking for positions. And I guess one other thing I would mention is that directly included in the curriculum of this program, we've embedded the 40-hour security guard ministry mandatory training in order to get a license as a security guard in the province of Ontario. And we've also embedded the 50-hour private investigator mandatory training. So when you graduate from the program, you're done that training. You don't have to do any additional training courses in order to get your license from the ministry to work in those areas.
That's awesome. I think that's so neat how you guys incorporate that training into the program, and then they kind of come out and they're ready to go. I love that. Thanks for that great overview. Could you tell us how students are learning within your program?
Well, a big focus for us is a great deal of community engagement. So working directly with our community partners, which allows students to really gain real experience with justice agencies, as well as a lot of experiential hands-on learning. So we really do try to get out of the classroom as much as we can to allow students to develop their skills by doing rather than just sort of sitting in a class and listening to somebody talk at them. So there's a real big focus on that experiential learning. This also allows students to develop those skills and qualifications that employers are looking for. So they can legitimately put on their resume when they're done these exercises that they have developed skills in doing threat risk assessments or security audits or crime scene investigations, etc. We also have a sort of a unique mix of courses that I think gives graduates a really wide variety of skills and experiences that they can then articulate in the job process. And employers are really looking for these. So, it's one thing to take the theory aspect of a course, but it's another thing to develop those hands-on qualifications and skills.
That's awesome. Yeah, thank you so much. So lots of really great learning happening within this program. And we heard you touch on a few experiential learning opportunities. Could you tell us a bit more about those experiential learning opportunities within the program?
Yeah, and I didn't want to get too much into it in the previous section because I knew this one was coming up, and there's a long list of experiential opportunities within our program. I think it starts with our two different full-time 4-week field placements that students participate in. We're able to provide students with opportunities locally, provincially, and across the country, depending on students' interest and ability to go elsewhere. What's interesting about our placements is that they're developed and set up by faculty in the program, and faculty in the program have the necessary connections in the field to find placement opportunities that would otherwise be really difficult for students to find on their own. And not all colleges are able to offer that. Some don't have placement at all, some offer one placement, and some require students to find those placements on their own, which can be a really challenging thing to do if you don't have those contacts and connections. So that's all hands-on experiential learning. You're on the job, you're doing the job, and you're gaining that experience for the resume. We do a lot of role play scenarios, so very realistic role play scenarios that allow students to demonstrate a variety of skills, such as their powers of arrest, scenarios where they develop search and seizure authority skills, radio communications. We actually have students participate in a radio exercise where they utilize their 10 codes and their phonetic alphabet, and develop those skills in that way. Conflict management and crisis intervention. So we actually have a crisis situation that students have to respond to and use their conflict management and crisis intervention skills in order to de-escalate that conflict, as well as suicide prevention. So a lot of role plays take place. We also do, in our criminal investigations course, we cover crime scene investigations. So students need to learn how to attend to a crime scene and process that crime scene and collect evidence, etc. And so we do that through a variety of ways. We do have evidence collection kits that students can use to collect evidence. And most recently, we've added a virtual reality crime scene investigation. So in our virtual reality, students actually teleport themselves to a crime scene, and they have to process that crime scene and collect evidence. And they put that together into a case where they follow up. And then there's actually a component where they have to interview witnesses after the fact to add that information to their investigation. So that's a very hands-on way of covering that kind of material. We also, in our private investigations course, our students participate in a full day-long surveillance exercise. We actually go to Prince Edward County, and students are assigned a couple of subjects that they have to follow around for the day and collect video and photo evidence of them engaging in a variety of different activities. And then they use that evidence to put together a case after the fact to present to a client. So again, a very sort of hands-on, realistic way of developing those surveillance skills. And then lots of community partner exercises that we engage in. So we participate with a local long-term care facility in a big mock emergency exercise where they have to evacuate the long-term care facility, and our students help them with that evacuation. We've also participated in emergency evacuations in our local hospitals. So hospitals also have to evacuate in the event of an emergency, and they have to practice those skills. So we've helped them in those areas as well. And most recently, we participated in a large scale multi-municipality emergency exercise where there was a large explosion in an industrial area of the city that required an entire community to be evacuated. And so we were able to participate in that evacuation exercise as well. We do a full threat risk assessment and a security audit at the National Air Force Museum in Quinte West. So students can go in and evaluate everything that the museum is doing from a security perspective and make any recommendations to improvements that they think are required. And we provide that report to the museum at the end of the year. Our students attend court on multiple times throughout the program because it's really important to gain courtroom experience. Employers are looking for people who, have courtroom experience when they're hiring them. And we attend a couple of field trips. So we go to Toronto a couple of times a year. We go to a security technology trade show where students have the opportunity to speak with security suppliers of a variety of new emerging technology on the market today. It's a very hands-on trade show where they can actually play with the technology, ask questions, get answers, etc. And finally, we do go to another field trip in Toronto. It's called the Security Police Fire Expo. And it's basically professionals in security, police, and fire who are there to mentor. There's speed mentoring sessions, there's mock interview preparation sessions, etc. And there's a large job fair that's going on during the event. And so many employers come and they're looking to hire. We've had lots of students get job offers directly from attending that event. So lots of opportunity to get out of the class and kind of use those, hands-on aspects of what the program has to offer.
That's awesome. Yeah, some really exciting opportunities to get out there and get hands-on and apply what students have learned. And I think that's so cool. You've highlighted some really exciting ones. Thank you so much for that. Could you tell us what makes your program so unique?
Well, I think I've hit on a lot of the things that we really, focus on that we think makes us unique. I think that common first-year curriculum that provides that flexibility, increases options for placement and careers for students and graduates, that also gives them the opportunity to do a double diploma. I think that's a really unique aspect that we have to offer. Obviously, our 2 4-week placements are very important because, like I said, not all colleges are able to offer that. And we feel very fortunate that we are able to offer that. That active engagement with community partners. I mean, we're always working collaboratively with community partners. And as a result of that, they actually want to hire our students because we have that contact and that connection with them. And then the real focus on providing that hands-on experiential learning to our students. The smaller the college, the more hands-on experiential learning can take place. If you have really, really large numbers, it's not as easy to do that. And at Loyalist, we're very fortunate that we are sort of a small kind of tight-knit community college, and we're able to provide that to our students.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. Now, could you tell us a bit about what students enjoy most about your program?
Absolutely, yeah. So we bring in guest speakers, past graduates, people working in the industry to speak with our students regularly. And, we have one particular course in first year where we bring in graduates from all 4 programs to talk to our students about their experience in the program and their career to date. And when we bring them in, this is a question that I actually ask them. I ask them what they enjoyed most about taking the program. And so I would say the common theme that I hear the most from the graduates when they answer this question is simply the broad range of opportunities that are available to them in this program. So they're not limited to one specific career. They have so many different options and opportunities that they can choose from. And depending on their personality, depending on, what location they want to live in, we can find something that's a good fit for them. So there's that wide range that's available, rather than being narrowly focused and limited on one area. And I would say the second thing that I hear consistently from them is that the program really has a strong focus on career preparation. So we actually have an entire course called Career Preparation. We do a lot of resume and cover letter writing and interview prep. So when graduates are applying for jobs, they're finding a lot of success because they've got a lot of experience in putting together an effective resume and cover letter, and in being effective in an interview situation. We also prepare them by doing a lot of practicing of written employment tests, as well as physical employment tests. So there's a lot of practice and preparation that goes into those kinds of things. So essentially when our students graduate, they're ready. They're ready to get hired. In fact, most of them are hired long before they graduate and walk across that stage. They're either hired from one of their 2 4-week placements, which is a common thing. Employers get a chance to see them for 4 weeks and see how they work, and they're often offered positions directly from that. And then we attend a field trip where they go to a job fair and they're able to apply for jobs directly at that job fair. And we have assignments in the program that requires them to apply for jobs and track their progress in that process. And many students actually secure employment directly from that assignment. So there's a large number of students that are hired on full-time positions long before they ever get to graduation.
That's awesome. That's really exciting to hear for sure. And speaking of jobs and graduating, could you tell us where students are finding work after they graduate?
Yeah, so there really is a broad range. And so depending on your personality, depending on what interests you, we can find something that's a good fit. There are your traditional positions that you might initially think of when you think of a program like protection, security, and investigations. So positions like a special constable position in a courthouse, at a university, or with public transit. Also provincial offenses officers, security guards, private investigators, lots of graduates working in both in federal, provincial, municipal, and military police departments. So our graduates are finding a lot of success in gaining those kinds of positions, as well as federal and provincial corrections, group homes, border services officers with the Canada Border Services Agency. So those kinds of careers are open, but then other ones that people might not be as familiar with in areas of enforcement, inspections, and compliance. So positions such as a compliance inspector with the Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario, who enforce the Liquor License Act, the Gaming Control Act, and the Cannabis Control Act. So there's positions there that we have graduates working in. The Ministry of Labor Ministry of Labor hires inspectors that graduates have found employment with. Health and safety officers, which is a really growing area of our sort of field in health and safety. Municipal bylaw enforcement and property standards officers, lots of graduates finding employment with municipalities, and those are, municipal government positions. So those are great positions to get, as well as canine and animal control enforcement. We also have opportunities in fraud analysis through major financial institutions with graduates working in those areas, nuclear security, and I could go on and on. There's just so many different opportunities that are available, and depending on what your level, some people are more enforcement minded, some people are more compliance or investigation minded. So we'll try and find the right fit, try and help you find the right fit for what you're interested in doing.
Absolutely. Yes. So there's some really amazing opportunities out there that you've highlighted, and some really exciting ones at that. Now, Tracy, I have one more question for you before we move into our, we kind of look to our audience and we look to answer your questions. And Tracy, that final question for you is, what do you love most about Loyalist?
What I love most about Loyalist, I think, really is the small, tight-knit community that we have, where we're able to develop really strong connections with our students so that we can provide them with the individualized support that they need to be both successful in their academics and successful in their careers after they graduate. Loyalist has so many supports that are available to students. Faculty provides supports, support staff provide a variety of different supports. We're all really focused on helping students be successful. And I think that is a lot easier to do when we are that, small, tight-knit community. I'm still regularly in contact with many of my graduates over the last 20 years. I consider many to be personal friends at this point. They reach out to me on a regular basis for help. I reach out to them on a regular basis for help. And we've really, gotten to know each other quite well as a result of them being in the program. I think students in the program find that they develop real lifelong connections with their peers, with faculty, and with support staff at the college, because really our commitment to their success doesn't end after they graduate. And I think that's what I love most, is that I really am able to get to know my students on a really, close level, which allows me to help them the best way that I can.
Absolutely. Very, very well said. And Tracy, thank you again for bringing such amazing expertise about the Protection, Security, and Investigation program to us today. We've got some great questions coming in here on the chat. Are we ready to answer those?
Sure.
All right, let's do it. So our first question here from one of our participants: is there a lot of group work in this program?
There is a lot of group work. A lot of our experiential exercises, really require group work, because the reality is, in our field, individuals will be working very closely with other people, and so it's important to be able to develop those skills. Employers are asking in interviews about people's group work skills, and we give them lots of opportunity to provide real examples of how they've developed their group work skills. A quick example, I mentioned earlier that students participate in a day-long surveillance exercise in Picton, and we do that in a group because when you're doing surveillance, you can get burned. And if you get burned, your investigation could essentially be over. But if you're working in a group, the person who gets burned can pull back and somebody else can step in and take their place. And so being able to work that way with others, I think, is really helpful in our field. And so we try to get students to work together as much as possible, particularly in those hands-on experiential activities, because we think it's really important.
Absolutely. It certainly is such an important thing. Great answer, Tracy. Thank you so much. We've got one more question coming in here, and that question is, what type of careers can you attain from this program, and how much money are people making? A really great question.
Well, I mean, I've mentioned sort of the variety of career options that are available. And so along with that variety, there's a variety of, salaries that come with those careers. It really ranges. I've seen graduates, within a few years making upwards of $100,000 a year. I've also seen graduates who are in more of an entry-level type position that are not making as much money. But, just to give you an example, a couple of guest speakers that I had in virtually in one of my first year classes a couple of weeks ago. One of them graduated 2 years ago. He's currently working as a transit enforcement officer for TTC in Toronto, and they're making about $36 an hour to start. And he's in the process of moving to a special constable position or applying for a special constable position with them, where the salary is even higher than that. I've also had several students get hired in municipal bylaw enforcement in the area lately. There's a lot of new work available in those areas because of Airbnb and enforcement of bylaws surrounding Airbnbs. So those positions are starting $26, $28, $30 an hour to start, and those are municipal positions that have full government benefits, etc. So there's some really great opportunities to make some good money early on in your career, but it really depends on which area you decide to focus on.
That's fantastic. Thanks for that great answer and for highlighting some more of those really exciting employment opportunities. Tracy, I want to thank you again for joining us today. We really appreciate you bringing your fantastic expertise to us today and all this great information. And yeah, to everyone out there tuning in today, thank you so much for joining us. And Tracy, thank you so much again.